Introduction to Spoken Cornish. This tape has been designed to give you a basic, compact grounding in Cornish, sufficient for you to understand and, what is more important, take part in everyday conversations. There are no tedious lessons on grammar to bore you. You have only to listen and learn. Of course, as in any language, Cornish has many different ways of saying the same thing, but here we will only use one, the simplest. All the variations can easily be learnt once you have mastered this tape. The Cornish on the tape is that of West Cornwall, the last stronghold of the traditionally spoken language, as opposed to the formal and prosaic unified Cornish found in most textbooks. In learning from this tape, practice regularly. It is far more rewarding to spend a short time each day than to engage yourself in lengthy, infrequent sessions. These only clog and tire the brain. And when practicing, speak aloud, so that you very soon become familiar with the language and that the language feels part of you. Although you will be learning a certain amount of vocabulary throughout the tape, there will be many words you will have to obtain from elsewhere in order that your Cornish will all the more rapidly improve. The shorter dictionary, also published by Delanzo Truran, is recommended, as it will fulfill this very need. Right, let's start to speak Cornish. Lesson 1. Where you are, what you are doing. These are statements such as, I am in the kitchen, John is going to Camborne, etc. Let us take a closer look at this kind of statement. I am in the kitchen. The Cornish for this is Therum in Gegin. That is, Therum, I am, in the, Gegin, kitchen. Therum in Gegin, I am in the kitchen. Similarly, I am eating breakfast. The Cornish for this is Therum o Tibri Hansel. That is, Therum, I am, as before, o Tibri, eating, Hansel, breakfast. Therum o Tibri Hansel, I am eating breakfast. Now for the other persons. You are in the kitchen. This in Cornish is Therasta in Gegin. That's Therasta, you are, and in Gegin, in the kitchen, as before. And similarly, you are eating breakfast. Therasta o Tibri Hansel. That's Therasta, you are, o Tibri, eating, Hansel, breakfast. If you are saying you to more than one person, use Therawi in place of Therasta. So you would then have Therawi in Gegin, you are in the kitchen, and Therawi o Tibri Hansel, you are eating breakfast. Now for the other persons. He is in the kitchen. Ma'ev in Gegin. He is eating breakfast. Ma'ev o Tibri Hansel. She is in the kitchen. Mahi in Gegin. She is eating breakfast. Mahi o Tibri Hansel. We are in the kitchen. Therane in Gegin. We are eating breakfast. Therane o Tibri Hansel. They are in the kitchen. Theranjoy in Gegin. They are eating breakfast. Theranjoy o Tibri Hansel. Similarly, we can use names of people or objects. In this instance, use ma. For example, Ma Yowan in Gegin. John is in the kitchen. Ma Yowan in Gegin. Or Man Dane in Gegin. The man is in the kitchen. Here, and Dane is the man. Likewise, Man Flehes in Gegin. The children are in the kitchen. And Man Flehes o Tibri Hansel. The children are eating breakfast. You can, of course, combine the different persons you have just learned to make a longer sentence. Man Flehes in Gegin o Tibri Hansel. The children are in the kitchen eating breakfast. Also, objects as well as persons can be used. Man Gather in Gegin. The chair is in the kitchen. And gather, that's the chair. Man gather in Gegin. Here is now a short vocabulary for you to learn, so that you can practice this exercise by using different words, enabling you from the start to expand your use of Cornish. Running, o Punya. Drinking, o Theva. Making, o Keel. Walking, o Keras. Playing, o Quarry. Going, o Moors. Coming, o Tors. The, an, on, war. to, thee, vain, here, upma, there, ena, under, dadden, the house, and choi, the town, and dre, the bus, and kitchen, the field, and park, the train, and train, the table, and vors. So, to set you going, here are a couple of further examples using the foregoing list of words. They are going on the bus. Theron Joy o Moors Warren Kitchen. The house is in the field. Man Choi in park. This is the end of the first lesson. Make sure that you fully understand the constructions before you move on, as these are the basic patterns for the other most common tenses. Lesson 2. Negatives and questions. First, the negatives. Having now mastered the construction for the basic statement, to form the negative is dead easy. Take the statement, I'm in the kitchen, Therum in Gegen. When we wish to say, I am not in the kitchen, all we do is to replace the Therum by Ninzerum, and the sentence becomes Ninzerum in Gegen, I am not in the kitchen. Similarly, I am not eating breakfast, Ninzerum o Tibri Hansel. This construction, of course, applies for the other persons, and are as follows. You are not, referring to one person, Ninzerister. You are not, referring to more than one, Ninzeroi. He is not, Ninzigiev. She is not, Ninzigiei. We are not, Ninzerinei. They are not, Ninzerinjoi. John is not, Ninzegioen. The children are not, Ninzegian Flehes. Now we can make up some simple negative statements using the vocabulary that we have already learnt. For example, John is not in the house, Ninzegioen in Choi. They are not going on the bus, Ninzerinjoi o Moors Warren Kitchen. You are not playing in the field, Ninzeroi o Quarry in Park. Now it's your turn to make up some simple negative statements like these. Questions. Having learnt the foregoing negatives, questions are easy, since all we do is knock off the nins at the start of the sentence. Thus, Nins eroi in Gegen, you are not in the kitchen, becomes eroi in Gegen, are you in the kitchen? Similarly, Nins igi yoan o keres in park, John is not walking in the field, becomes igi yoan o keres in park, is John walking in the field? Again practice, using different combinations of persons and objects. Following this, of course, there is the negative question. This is, for example, aren't you going to Penzance? Or isn't John on the bus? All we do here is to put a in front of the nins in the negative statement. Thus, aren't you going to Penzance is in Cornish a ninzerawi or more to Penzance. And isn't John on the bus? A ninzeji yoan Warren Kitchen. Answers. As you're asking or being asked questions, there will be the need, of course, to provide answers. In Cornish there is no yes or no as direct replies to questions. For the negative reply, replace the nins in the negative statement learned at the start of this lesson by nag. Thus ninzerum becomes nagarum, and ninzeroi becomes nagaroi, etc. And for the affirmative reply, drop the nag. And so, for example, in reply to the question, Erista or Moors to Penzance, are you going to Penzance? The replies would be, Nagarum, no, I am not. Erum, yes, I am. Similarly, Igi Flehes, Warren Kitchen, are the children on the bus? Nagigi, no. Igi, yes. Learn these modifications of the first lesson, and together with the following list of new words, construct your own questions with replies as appropriate. The words: the book and liver, the girl and vowis, the girls and mawiji, the boy and mep, the boys and vebian, the woman and venom, the women and venenas, the food and booze, the cupboard and amory, the bed and gwelly, the room and stebble, bread, vara, milk, laith, coffee, coffee, tea, tay, beer, Correth. Selling, O Curtha, climbing, O Crambler, shouting, O Karma, laughing, O Huerthan, jumping, O Labna, baking, O Paubus, shopping, O Pranasa, carrying, O Tawn, sleeping, O Cuska, and rushing, O Fisking. Before we end this second lesson, we will introduce the Cornish for there is and there are. These are both translatable by ma, a word we have already come across. Thus, there is a man in the kitchen is ma dain in gegen, and there are boys in the field is ma mebian in park. For the negatives, there isn't and there aren't, we use ninzis. Hence, there isn't anyone in the kitchen. Ninzis dain vis in gegen. Dain vis is anyone. That's ninzis dain vis in gegen. The questions, together with replies, all follow the same pattern as we learned in this exercise, and are as follows. Is there food in the cupboard? Is booze in Amory? Yes, there is. Is. No, there isn't. Naggies. Isn't there food in the cupboard? And ninzis booze in Amory? The replies, of course, are the same as before. Yes, there is. Is. No, there isn't. Naggies. Lesson 3. Having learnt the present tense, let us now look at the past tense. That is, where you were, what you were doing. The constructions are the same as for the present tense, the only change being, as in English, the form of the verb. So in place of thurum, I am, we have thuravi, I was. And in place of maev, he is, we have theraev, he was. Here is the list for all the persons concerned. I was, theravi. You were, in the singular, therasta. You were, in the plural, theraway. He was, theraev. She was, therahi. We were, theranui. They were, theranjoy. John was, therayoan. The children were, thera and flays. So we can again make up sentences. I was eating breakfast. Theravi o Tibri Hansel. The women were baking bread. Thera and Bananas o Paulbus Barra. The boy was shouting on the bus. Thera and Meb o Karma Warren Kitron. Now you try some simple sentences to get used to this tense. Negatives, questions and replies. These, as will be expected, follow the same pattern as for the present tense we learnt in the last lesson. The negative. Thus, theravi in gegen, I was in the kitchen, becomes ninzeravi in gegen, I was not in the kitchen. And thera and vowus o kuska, the girl was sleeping, becomes ninzera and vowus o kuska, the girl was not sleeping. The question. Just as we learnt in lesson 2, simply drop the nins. That is, nins erawi Warren Kitchen, you were not on the bus, becomes erawi Warren Kitchen, were you on the bus? And nins era map o kuska, the boy was not sleeping, becomes era map o kuska, was the boy sleeping? And of course, just as before, the negative question. Simply add a in front of the nins. A nins erawi Warren Kitchen, weren't you on the bus? A nins era yawan o kuska, wasn't John sleeping? The replies also follow the same form, the nins being replaced by nag for the negative, and the nag being omitted for the affirmative. Thus, Era and Joy in park, were they in the park? Nag Era and Joy, no they weren't. Era and Joy, yes they were. Now practice as before, asking questions and giving replies as appropriate. Just as we finished the last lesson with the Cornish for there is and there are, we will finish this one with there was and there were. Again, the same word is used for the two, and that is thera. Thera daining gegen, there was a man in the kitchen. Thera mebian o Quarian park, there were boys playing in the field. And for the negatives, questions and replies, the patterns are exactly the same as for the present tense, as follows. Ninzera dainin choi, There wasn't a man in the house. Era mep in park? Was there a boy in the field? And in Zera Mewis, Warren Kitchen? Wasn't there a girl on the bus? Nag era. No, there wasn't. Era. Yes, there was. Lesson 4. The future. Where you will be, what you will be doing. When referring to what you will be doing, traditionally spoken Cornish, as often the case in English, only makes use of the present. That is, the question, will you be going tomorrow, is asked in the form, are you going tomorrow? However, in describing where you will be, the following is made use of. Again, the only change in the sentence is the form of the verb. So, in place of therum, I am, and theravi, I was, etc., we have a fithervi, I will be. Here are the words for all the persons involved. I will be, a fithervi. You will be, in the singular, a fitherta. You will be, in the plural, a fitherwi. He will be, a fithev. She will be, a fithe. We will be, a fithenoi. They will be, a fithenjoy. John will be, a fithyawan. The children will be, a fifth and flaves. Here are a couple of examples for you to copy. I will be in Byzance tomorrow. A fithervi in Byzance avoro. John will be in the house. A fithyawan in choi. And now the negatives, questions and replies. As you would expect, these follow virtually the same pattern as before. The negatives. Start the sentence with ni. So in place of a fithervi, I will be, we have ni vithervi, I won't be. And in place of a fitherta, you will be, we have ni vitherta, you won't be, and so on. Questions. Start the sentences with a. Thus, a vithervi, will I be? A vitherta, will you be? A vithef, will he be? Etc. And of course the negative question, just as before. Ani vithervi, won't I be? Ani vitherta, won't you be? Ani vithef, won't he be? Etc. The replies to your questions will also follow the same pattern as before. Thus, a vitherwi, Warren Gitron, will you be on the bus? Na vithen, no, we won't. Bithen, yes, we will. Ani vithyawan in choi, won't John be in the house? Na vith, no, he won't. Bith, yes, he will. Just one small note here. The V sound in vithen and vith, etc. changes to B when at the start of the phrase, i.e. bithen and bith. Now make your own sentences with questions and appropriate answers. As with the previous two lessons, we will include here the appropriate tense of there, which of course for this lesson will be there will be. This in Cornish is a fifth, and so we have there will be rain tomorrow, a fifth glau avaro. There won't be rain tomorrow, ni vith glau avaro. Will there be rain tomorrow? A vith glau avaro. Won't there be rain tomorrow? Ani vith glau avaro. No, there won't. Na vith. Yes, there will. Bith. Finally, to finish this lesson, two very important words in questions, where and when. Where is play, and when is pierre. And as to the use, with play, where, simply tack it onto the front of the affirmative statement. You are going, Therawi or Moors. Where are you going? Play Therawi or Moors. Where is John? Play Mayawan. Where is the bus? Play Man Kitchen. With Pierre, when, tack this on the front of the question form. Thus, are you going to Byzance? Erwi or Moors the Byzance? When are you going to Byzance? Pierre Erwi or Moors the Byzance. When is the bus coming? Pierre Igian Kitchen or Tours. Lesson 5. What you are, how you are. The form of the present tense of the verb to be, given here, can only be used as in the expression of state or condition of someone or something. That is, the man is lazy, or I am tired, etc. It cannot be used to express am, is, or are when in the context of position or action as learnt earlier. At first the difference may be difficult to appreciate, but with use the problem will disappear. We will start first with the forms for each person, followed by examples for you to practice. There are 2 forms given here, both correct and interchangeable. The choice is yours as to which you use. One form follows the pattern we have already learnt, in that there is a change of the word for each person concerned. The other introduces a form we shall be coming across more and more as we progress. This is an impersonal form, following the pattern of English, in which the person is represented by a pronoun such as I, you, he, etc., followed by the am, is or are, and then the descriptive word, I am sick, or you are tired, etc. Here are the 2 forms. I am is thovi or miu. And an example, I am tired, thovi squeeth, or miu squeeth. You are, in the singular, thosta or chiu. Example, you are lazy, thosta diek, or chiu diek. You are, in the plural, thui or huiu. Example, you are early, thui avar, or huiu avar. He is, ithua, or evu. An example, he is a good man, ithua dainda, or evu dainda. She is, ithuhi, or huiu. Example, she is busy, ithuhi busy, or hiu busy. It is, ithu. An example, it is wet, ithu blip. We are, thoni, or noyu. Example, we are happy, thoni lowen, or noyu lowen. They are, thonjoy, or enjoyu. Example, they are lucky, thonjoy physic, or enjoyu physic. Names of people and objects can be treated as he, using either ithu or you. For example, John is sad, ithu yawan trist, or yawan you trist. The glass is empty, ithu an wedren guac, or an wedren you guac. But it is more usual in these instances to simply use the word you for is and are as you would in English. That is, yawan you claff, John is sick, and wedren you guac, the glass is empty, and dis you blodgett, the men are dirty. Now you practice using these forms, together with the following new set of words. The shop and Gwerthji, the church and Eglos, the garage and Cargy, the pub and Dewatty, the glass and Wedren, the door and Darris, the horse and Marth. Tired, Squeeth, lazy, Diek, early, Avar, late, Holer, empty, Guac, full, Lean, red, Wreath, blue, Glaze, green, Gwer, grey, Lose, white, Widden, brown, Gel, sour, Trenk, and sweet, Hweg. Lesson 6. The negatives, questions and replies to this new form. These all follow the basic principles we have already learnt. The negatives. We will start as usual by listing the persons. You will doubtless recognize the pattern from the earlier lessons. I am not, ninzovi. You are not, in the singular, ninzosta. And you are not, in the plural, ninzui. He is not, ninzua. She is not, ninjui. It is not, ninju. We are not, nizoni. And they are not, nizinji. And here are a couple of examples to help you in your practice. I am not happy, ninzovi lowen. John is not tired, ninju yawan squeeth. Questions. All we do is to simply knock off the nins in the negative form. For example, the negative, nins ovi squeeth, I am not tired, and the question, ovi squeeth, am I tired? And again, ninju yawan diek, John is not lazy. You yawan diek, is John lazy? And of course the negative question is formed just as before by placing a in front of nins. A ninju yawan diek? Isn't John lazy? Replies. These, as you have probably guessed, all follow the patterns we have already learned. That is, For the negative, replace nins by nag, and for the affirmative, drop the nag. Again, a couple of examples to ensure that you are happy. Are you happy? Oster Lyon? No, I am not. Nag Olvi? Yes, I am. Of. Isn't the glass empty? And ninju and wedrin guac? No. Nag you? Yes. You. Now you practice as before, using the vocabulary you have already been given and have learnt. And to close this lesson, here is a useful word for questions, and very easy to use. Pith, which means what? All you do is to add it to the front of the question forms we have just learnt. For example, what is the colour of the door? Pith you liw and daras. Liw means colour. And what are you doing? Pith eristo keel. Lesson 7. In the last lesson we came across for the first time the actual pronouns in Cornish representing I, you, he, she, etc. Unlike before, where the person who was the subject of the statement was only recognizable by a different form of the verb. Just to refresh your memory, here are the pronouns again. I in Cornish is me, you in the singular chi, and in the plural hui. He is ev, she is he, we is ni, and they is enjoy. And taking the Cornish word you, meaning is, am, or are, we have I am, me you, you are, chi you, that's the singular, and hui you in the plural. He is, ev you, she is, he you, we are, know you, they are, enjoy you, etc. From now onwards we shall be using these pronouns for virtually all affirmative statements, so make sure you learn them. Right, now having learnt I am, you are, etc. by saying me you, chi you, let us now learn in this lesson how to say I will be and I was. The future, what you will be, how you will be. All we have to do to learn this is to replace the you in the present tense by a vis. Hence, me you, I am, becomes me a vis, I will be. Similarly for the other persons, you will be, chi a vis and hui a vis. He will be, ev a vis. She will be, he a vis. We will be, ni a vis. And they will be, enjoy a vis. The negatives, questions and replies. These are exactly as we learned in lesson 4, but just to refresh your memory, here are a couple of examples. Will John be better tomorrow? Avith Yowan gwell avarm? No, he won't. Na vith. Yes, he will. Bith. Won't you be sick? Anna vither we clef? No, we won't. Na vithen. Yes, we will. Bithen. Now it's your turn again. Practice this exercise using the vocabulary you have already learned together with a new set of words which follow. These are the road and vor, the weather and giwer, the water and dower, the sea and draw. This exercise using the vocabulary you have already learned together with a new set of words which follow. These are the road and vor, the weather and giwer, the water and dower, the sea and moor, the sky and ebron, dry, se, wet, glip, cold, yine, hot, tubben, very hot, porth, deep, down, clear, clare, wide, leaden, narrow, een. Lesson 8. The past tenses. First, what you were, how you were. In Cornish we have two ways of expressing this. One, as a state or condition, e.g. the man was sick or the bus was full. All we do here for the affirmative statement is to replace the you in the present by o. And so we have I was sick, me o claf. You were happy, chi o lawan. They were early, and joy o avar, etc. The negative, question and reply forms for this. As with previous lessons, for the negatives we must learn the variation for each person. They all again start with nins and are as follows. I was not, nins einvi. You were not, nins este, or nins iwi for the plural. He was not, nins over. She was not, nins ohi. We were not, nins eini. They were not, Dizenji, and John was not, Ninzo Yowen. Questions and replies. The rules are exactly as in previous exercises. Knock off the nins in the negative and that's it. Example. You were not sick. Nins Eisteddfod. Were you sick? Eisteddfod. And for the negative question, add the a just as before. Weren't you sick? A nins Eisteddfod. Weren't the children naughty? A ninzo and flehes drog. And likewise the answers. Were you sick? Eisteddfod. No, I wasn't. Nagenvi. Was John early? Oh, Yowen Avar? Yes. Oh. Now, the other form of this tense. This is used as the result of an action. For example, I was bitten by a dog, or the cake was cut by the bride. Here, in place of o for was, we use ave. Thus, I was bitten by a dog. Mi ave brathis gans key. The cake was cut by the bride, and desen ave trehes gans an venimbrias. And now, as usual, the negatives, questions and replies. All we do here again is to follow the same pattern, that is, learn the individual forms for each person and apply the same rules. Here are the personal forms. You will note that now nins is replaced by ni. I was not, ni vema. You were not, ni vesta for the singular, ni viui for the plural. He was not, ni veva. She was not, ni vehi. We were not, ni veni. They were not, ni vonde. John was not, ni ve yowen, etc. And a couple of examples. You were not bitten by a dog. The vesta brathis gans key. He wasn't hit on the head. The veva cronkis waren pedden. The questions and replies. Here again there is a small change, and that is a will always start a question, whether it be open or negative. So for the open question form, replace the ni in the negative just learned by a. Thus, the vema, I was not, becomes a vema, was I. And the vesta, you weren't, becomes a vesta, were you, etc. And as you have already doubtless guessed, for the negative question, place a before the ni in the negative statement. Wasn't I invited? And he vema gelwas? Wasn't he bitten? And he veva brathis? The answers also again follow the same rules. Were you bitten by the dog? A vesta brathis gansen key? No, I wasn't. Na vema. Yes, I was. Bema. Wasn't John invited? And he ve yowen gelwas? No, he wasn't. Na veva. Yes, he was. Beva. Note again here, the V sound changes to a B when the word starts the phrase. Thus, na veva, but beva. Now you practice this exercise, making sure you understand the difference between O, meaning was, as in I was sick, a state or condition, and ave, meaning was, as a result of some action. I was kicked, or the man was hit, etc. Lesson 9. The remainder of the regular tenses associated with this verb we will lump together in this one lesson, since the only new things to learn are the actual words to be substituted to give the different tense. First we will look at would be, as in you would be ill, etc. Here we replace the o, or ave, of the last lesson by avia. Thus we have me avia clef, I would be sick. Johan avia lowen clues hedna, John would be happy to hear that. And our negative forms. I would not be, the VNV. You would not be, the viesta and the viewee. He would not be, the viev. She would not be, the viehi. We would not be, the vieni. They would not be, the vienjoy. The questions and replies are all formed exactly as before. Don't forget, however, the change of the V sound to B. Would the boy be happy? Via mep lowen? No, navia. Yes, beer. Next, you had been, as in you had been to Camborne. Here, in place of avia, put rubia. Hence, you had been to Camborne. She rebia the Camborne. We have been playing darts. Nay, rebia ocori sathigo, etc. The negative and question forms are the same as for would be, learned at the start of this lesson. The reason being, the little word r in rabia which gives the had sense, is only used in the affirmative, never in the negative or the question. Finally, you have been. This time the ave is replaced by rebe, giving I have been to Camborne, me rebe the Camborne. They have been playing football, and joy rebe o Corrie Peldrus. As with rebea, had been, where the negative and question forms follow avea, the negative and question forms for rebe follow those of ave. Hence we have I have been to Penzance, me rebe the Penzance, I haven't been to Penzance, the vema the Penzance. Well, this is the end of the lessons on the verb to be. Practice them all and make sure you fully understand them before moving on. Lesson 10. The next 3 lessons will deal with the other 3 most common verbs, to do, to want, and to be able. First, we will learn to use the verb to do. This verb is very important to the learner of Cornish, as it can perform one very useful function. Simple statements such as I see, you hear, etc. can all be learned in Cornish in the way we learned all our tenses in the previous lessons, but this would be a mammoth task for the beginner. However, what we can do is to say I do see, you do hear, etc. This makes life for the learner a lot simpler, because all we have to do is to learn the different tenses of the verb to do and just place the main verb after it. So let us start with the present tense. Just as we learned o, or ave, or rebe in the last lessons by simple substitutions, we can learn all these new verbs in the same way. Hence, in the statement I do eat, we have I, which in Cornish is me, do, which is ara, and eat, which is dibri. That is me ara dibri, I do eat, or simply I eat. Similarly, we have you eat, chi ara dibri, or hui ara dibri, depending on whether it's singular or plural. He eats, ev ara dibri. She eats, he ara dibri, etc. So it's just a pronoun or noun, I, you, he, John, the cat, etc., followed by ara and then the verb. Another example, the cat drinks milk, or the cat does drink milk. This will be the cat and gath, does, ara, drink, eva, milk, leith, and gath, ara, eva, leith. Now we follow our usual procedure and learn the negative, question and reply forms. The negatives. As usual, we must know the form for each person, so here they are. I don't, ni rama. You don't, ni reta in the singular, ni rui in the plural. He doesn't, ni rava. She doesn't, ni rahi. We don't, ni reni. They don't, ni ronjai. John doesn't, ni rayoan. The men don't, ni randis, etc. Our questions and replies are as would be expected, so we will simply look at a couple of examples to ensure that you understand the principle. Do you drink beer? Al reta eva korov? No, I don't. Na rama. Yes, I do. Grammar. Note here, as the V changed to B in the last lesson, so with this verb, the W sound changes to G. Navrama, grammar. A further example. Don't the men work in the mine? Anara and dis oberian bal? No, they don't. Now ronji. Yes, they do. Gronji, or grons. And that's it for the present tense. Now the past tense, did, as in I did go to Camborne. Here replace the ara of the present tense by a rig. Thus, I do go, me ramos, becomes me rigmos, I did go. And likewise, of course, with the other persons. You did go, chi rigmos, or hoya rigmos. He did go, eva rigmos. She did go, hiya rigmos, etc. And the personal forms for the negatives, questions, replies? Well, these are as follows. I didn't, ni rigavi. You didn't, ni rista in the singular, then rigawi in the plural. He didn't, ni rigay. She didn't, ni righi. We didn't, no riggany. They didn't, no riggin jay. John didn't, no rig yowen. And the usual examples to ensure that you understand everything. Did you go to the hospital yesterday? Rista more than clodgy day? No, I didn't. Na rigavy. Yes, I did. Grigavy. Or more simply, Grig. Didn't the people see the accident? Anna Regan Bobble, Gwellas and Droglam? No, Narig. Yes, Grig. Immediately following on from this we have the form have done or has done. This is very simple. All we do is to make use of our little word r, which you came across in our earlier lessons. So in place of me a rig moors, I did go, we have me rig moors, I have gone. And similarly, she rig moors, you have gone, every rig moors, he has gone, etc. And just as we learned in the earlier lessons, r is not used in negatives or questions, and so we use the form for did. Thus, although I have gone is me rig moors, I haven't gone is the rigby moors, just the same as I didn't go. Similarly, haven't you gone is an arista moors, which is the same as didn't you go. The last two common tenses for the verb to do are would do and had done, as in I would sing and John had gone. For the would part, replace the ara or arig by arissa. So we have I would sing me arissa kena. You would sing she arissa kena or hui arissa kena. He would sing ev arissa kena, etc. For the had done part, arissa becomes rurissa. Yowen re rissa moors. John had gone. Ni re rissa dibri. We had eaten. The negatives, questions and replies are, as you have properly guessed, represented by the one form because, as noted before, r does not appear in these forms. So for the negatives of both would and had done, we have I wouldn't do or hadn't done, ni risten v. You wouldn't do or you hadn't done. This is ni risses ta for the singular and ni risui for the plural. He wouldn't do or hadn't done, ni rissa ev. She wouldn't do or hadn't done, ni rissa he. We wouldn't do or hadn't done, ni rissa ni. They wouldn't do or hadn't done, ni rissa and j. And finally some examples. Would the children go? Rissa and flayers moors? No, na rissa. Yes, grissa. Had you drunk the beer? Rissa ta Eva and Cornwall? No, I hadn't. Na risson v. Yes, I had. Grisson or grisson v. Now you practice the tenses given of this verb. Make sure you master them completely before moving on, because you will find as you start to use Cornish they will always be cropping up in conversations. This is the end of this lesson and the end of this side. Lesson 11 starts on the other side of the tape. Lesson 11. Now we will look at the verb to want. In traditionally spoken Cornish, this verb is also often used to represent the future, that is will, as in I will go. We will start with the present tense, and again to learn its use we will carry out our substitution exercise. So, to change I do eat, me ara dibri, to I want to eat, or I will eat, simply change the ara to a vedden. Thus, me a vedden dibri, I want to eat. And this of course applies to all persons. You want to eat, chi a vedden dibri, or hui a vedden dibri. He wants to eat, ev a vedden dibri. She wants to eat, he a vedden dibri, etc. They want to play football would be enjoy a vedden gori peldrus. And now our list of persons so that we can formulate our negatives, questions and replies. I don't want to, ni vedden of thee. You don't want to, ni vente in the singular and ni vednui in the plural. He doesn't want to, na vedden ev. She doesn't want to, na vedden he. We don't want to, na vedden he. They don't want to, na vedden enjoy. and our usual examples to ensure your understanding of the usage. Do you want to go to Penzance? Venda moors the Penzance? No, I don't. Na vidnith, or na vidnavi. Yes, I do. Midnith. Doesn't John want to eat the egg? Adni vedn yowen dibrian oi? No, he doesn't. Na vedn. Yes, he does. Midden. Note the change of sound again in this verb. This time the V sound becomes an M sound. Na vedn and medden. And don't forget the future sense of this verb. For example, I will do that tomorrow. Mia vedn gil edna avaro. Now let's have a look at the past tense. I wanted to eat that, or I would want to eat that, etc. Here we replace the vedn by avenger. Thus we have I wanted to eat the cake. Mia venja dibrian desen. And of course, chi avenger dibrian desen. Ev avenger dibrian desen. All as before. The personal forms, so that we can use negatives, questions and replies, are as follows. I didn't want to. The vengeum. You didn't want to. The vengesta or the venjui. He didn't want to. The vengev. She didn't want to. The venjahi. We didn't want to. The venjani. They didn't want to. The venjanjai. John didn't want to. The venjayowan. Thus we have, did you want to play darts? Vengesta gloris figo? No, I didn't. Na venjum. Yes, I did. Menjum. Didn't the children go to school? Any venjum flares moles in school? No. Na venjum. Yes. Menjum. And as before, don't forget the change of the V sound to M. Na venja and menja. These are the two tenses commonly used in traditionally spoken Cornish. Again, master them before you move on. Lesson 12. The last of our verbs in the series is to be able. That is, I can go, I can come today, etc. With our simple substitution method, we now replace the vedn of the last lesson by il. So where we had mea vedn dibrian desen, I want to eat the cake, we now have mea il dibrian desen, I can eat the cake. And of course, as before, the same applies to the other persons. You can eat the cake. Chi il dibrian desen, or hui an il dibrian desen. He can eat the cake. Ev il dibrian desen, etc. And now our familiar list of personal forms, so that we can construct our negatives, questions and replies. I cannot, the elam. You cannot, the elister, or the eloi. He cannot, the erev. She cannot, the elhi. We cannot, the elani. They cannot, the elanjai. John cannot, the elyowan, etc. And so we have, can you speak Cornish? Elister clapia canuit? No, I can't. Elam. Yes, I can. Gellam. Can't you go tomorrow? Any yellowy moors tomorrow? No, we can't. Eleni. Yes, we can. Gelani, or for short, Gellan. This time, with our sound change, note the addition of a G. Na Eleni, no we can't. Gellan, yes we can. The past tense, I could go, etc. Here we replace the ail, meaning can, by aulja, meaning could. Thus, me ail moors, I can go, becomes me aulja moors, I could go, or I could have gone. And chi aulja moors, you could go, or you could have gone. Similarly, ni aulja moors, we could have gone. And now our personal forms with negatives, questions and replies. I could not, the Aljan V. You could not, the Aljaster, or the Aljui, in the plural. He could not, the Aljaev. She could not, the Aljahi. We could not, the Aljani. They could not, the Aljanjai. John could not, the Aljayawan, etc. And as usual, to complete this tense, some examples. Could you open the door? Algister, Ageri and Daris? No, I couldn't. The Algenvi. Yes, I could. Galgen, gouging thee. Couldn't the man pay the bill? And the Alger Dane pay and reckon? No, na Alger. Yes, gouger. Again, don't forget the addition of the letter G. Na Alger, no, gouger, yes. Well, that is all we need to learn in the way of basic verbs to enable us to get by in spoken Cornish. Finally, to complete this lesson, we'll look at the Cornish for who, a word obviously we must know because it crops up so many times in the course of conversation. In Cornish there are two words for who, pew and nep. Pew is only used in questions. Who is the man? Pew, you and Dane. Who wants to go? Pew of Red and Moors. Nep is used only in a relative sense and never in questions. He is the man who wants to go. Have you and Dane nep of Red and Moors. The two words cannot be interchanged. Here is a further example using both words to illustrate the point. Who is the boy who stole the book? Pew you and Mep, never rig ladra and liver. Lesson 13. We will now have a look at how to say what you do to me or what you do to him, etc. It is easy to say in Cornish, I see the woman, because the pattern is the same as in English. I see, mira gwellas, the woman, and venen, mira gwellas and venen. But what about I see her? Although the way we say it is different than in English, it is still nevertheless simple. All we do is this. Take the word for her, which is he, and put it between the mira and the gwellas. Thus, mira he gwellas. Similarly, let us take as another example, she killed the man. This in Cornish is, she killed, hier ik lather, the man, and Dane. Hier ik lather and Dane. Now we want to say she killed him. Well, the Cornish for him is I, so doing as we did before, she killed him would be hier ik lather. That's hier ik lather. This also works with the other verbs we have learnt. For example, I can see her. This would be miail, I can. Then we put in the he for her, and then follow with gwellas, see. Miail, he gwellas. Also, let us look at the question, do you want to hear him? This would be, do you want, aventa, then the him, which is he, and then the word for hear, which is cluas. So the complete question would be, aventa igluas, do you want to hear him? So, it is always the mira, or ever eel, etc., followed by the object, him, or her, etc., and then the verb, for example, hear, or see, or kill. Thus, mi a eel he gwellas, I can see her. Now let's learn all the other persons concerned, that is me, you, us, and them. Here is the full list. Me is au, you is tha for one person, and agus for more than one. Him is I, her is he, us is agan, and them is aga. It is either him or her, depending on whether the object to which you are referring is masculine or feminine. Although in the introduction to this tape it was said that no grammar would be taught, there is one very important point, however, that we must be sure of appreciating. In Cornish, the initial letters of many words change when they follow certain other words. Remember our navith and bith, and navednif and mednif? Well, the persons that we are learning in this lesson cause many of these initial letter changes. But to learn all these will be outside the scope of this tape. It's going to be far easier for you to learn the few that occur naturally on this tape, and later, when you have completed the tape, refer to a textbook to obtain the rest. Now, having learnt the foregoing list of persons, let us have a look at some examples. I mended the net yesterday, Mirig Una and Rue's day. I mended it yesterday, Mirig Hiona day. We saw the boats in the harbour, Nirig Gwellas and Scatho in port. We saw them in the harbour, Nirig Agagwellas in port. And one more before you have a go. They heard you playing the harp, and Jai a rig Zagluas, O Kenna and Dellen. So, if the Cornish for they can eat the sweets is and Jai a il dibri and juego, what is the Cornish for they can eat them. And if the Cornish for you didn't see her is Nerista he gwellis, what is the Cornish for you didn't see me? The answers to these, in case you weren't sure, are 1. They can eat them, and jai ayo agatibri. 2. You didn't see me, Nerista augwellis. Now, having learnt the foregoing, it is very easy now to learn the Cornish for my, your, his, etc., as in my book or your house. The words with these possessive pronouns, as they are called, are exactly the same as those we have just learned. That is, the word for me is the same as that for mine, and the word for him is the same as that for his, etc. So when we wish to say, have you seen my book, we have Arista Gwellas, have you seen, Auliver, my book. And similarly, I can see your house, Miao Gwellas, I can see Lajai, your house. John broke their window, Yauna Rig Terry, John broke Aga Fenister, their window. Now you practice these. Lesson 14. Adjectives. These are words which describe something, such as a white horse, a big tree, etc. In Cornish, this adjective follows a noun, and we would say a horse white, a tree big. Here are some examples for you to copy. A white horse, March Gwydden. A big tree, Gwydden Vros. I am buying a new house, Thurm o Perna Choinoweth. She has lost her grey skirt. He may rig Kelly, he lost and lose. As a second part of this lesson, let us learn how to say that in Cornish, as in the context, I think that he did go, or he said that you were better. This in traditionally spoken Cornish is translatable by putting the word del in a sentence for that, and immediately following it with the personal form of the verb, as we learned in earlier lessons. Let us look at this more closely with some examples. I think that he did go. This would be, I think, me a rapideri, that, del, he did, rigge, go, mors. Me a rapideri, del rigge mors. Similarly, he said that you were better. This would be, he said, ever riglabero, that, del, you were, esta, better, well. Ever riglabero, del esta well. And a third example for you. They believe that you can do it. Here we have, they believe, and jai aragriji, that, del, you can, elsta, do it, he will. And jai aragriji, del elsta, he will. Now you have a go. However, beware of one thing. The that is not always present in English. For example, I think he is better. This should really be, I think that he is better. Lesson 15. Prepositions. These are words that describe time, place, means, etc. In the house, with a book, to the town. These are used exactly as in English, where occurring in this kind of example. In fact, we have already met some of them. In the kitchen, in Gagan, to the town, then dre, and with a book, Gans liver. However, when we wish to use these prepositions with persons, we cannot use them as in English by simply linking them with the persons, like in me, to you, or with him, etc. We have to use a personal form, similar to those we have learnt already for our verbs in the earlier lessons. Let us look at the more common prepositions, learn their combined forms for each person, and do some examples. First, let's look at to, as in to me, to you, etc. Our list of personal forms is to me, them, to you, these for one person, the we for more than one, to him, dodo, to her, thedi, to us, the ni, to them, the njai. And a couple of examples. He gave the book to me. He gave, everigri, the book and liver to me, them. Everigri and liver them. Similarly, the letter was sent to him yesterday. The letter and liver was sent, avedan venus, to him, dodo, yesterday, day. And liver, avedan venus, dodo, day. Next, let us learn with, which on its own is gans. Here's our list. With me, Genema. With you, Genisji or Genohui. With him, Ganzo. With her, Genzi. With us, Genani. With them, Ganzanjai. And a couple of examples for you. He went with me. He went, Everig Moors. With me, Genema. Everig Moors, Genema. The dog was walking with her. This will be Sarah and Ki O'Kara's Genzi. Again, Sarah and Ki O'Kara's Genzi. Now we will learn the forms for the preposition at, as in he looked at her. On his own, at is ert, and combined with the persons is as follows. At me, ertam or ertif. At you, ertisg and ertui. At him, erto. At her, erti. At us, ertni. At them, ertinjai. And an example, he stared at us. Here we have, he stared, everik legata at us, ertni. That's everik legata, ertni. Another very common preposition is in. Although on its own in has the same sound as in English, in traditionally spoken Cornish, and when combined with persons, it develops a T sound as follows. In me, etavi. In you, etisg, and etahui for the plural. In him, eto. In her, eti. In us, etini, and in them, etinjai. And an example, there were boxes with apples in them. This would be, there were boxes, therakistio, with apples, gans avalo, in them, etinjai. Therakistio, gans avalo, etinjai. As we learned earlier, the English it, as in with it, in it, etc., is translatable by him or her, depending on whether the it refers to something masculine or feminine. There are, of course, many prepositions such as we have just learned, but our space is limited on this tape, so here's just one more, the most common, to help you on your way. This one is against, which on its own, in Cornish, is forbidden, and with persons becomes against me, were elfidden, against you, were that bidden, and for the plural, were agus bidden. Against him, were he bidden. Against her, were a fidden. Against us, were agan pidden. And against them, were agafidden. So in the example, they play football against us, we have in Cornish, and jai a rigori powdrus or agan pidden. Now you practice these forms using as many combinations of persons as you can. Lesson 16. In this lesson we will learn two very common words, must and ought. First let us look at must. The present tense, I must go, etc. The I must part is reju them. So I must go would be reju them mors. You must is reju these, and therefore you must go is reju these mors. In fact, what we have is reju for the must, and them, these, though, etc. for a particular person, as learned in the last lesson. And so we have, as an additional example, reju thedi mors, she must go. Now what about negatives, questions and replies? I must not go. Must you go? Yes, I must, etc. This is dead easy because we have learnt the pattern already in our earlier lessons. The must not is ninju res. Thus, I must not go is ninju res them mors. Must you go? You res these mors. Or must he go is you res dodo mors. And of course, the negative question, mustn't we go, is as you would expect. A ninju res deni mors? The answer to all these is simply you for yes and nagu for no, exactly as we learnt in our first lesson. And now the past tense, I had to go. Here we have a simple case of substitution again. Replace the you in reju or ninju res by o. That is, I had to go is res o them mors, and you didn't have to go is nins o res these mors. And that is all. A simple substitution to put everything into the past. The questions and replies also, of course, follow the same pattern. Did you have to go? O raise these mors? Yes. O. no, nago. Didn't he have to come? And Ninzo raise those doors? Yes, oh, no, nago. And what about the future? I shall have to go, etc. Again a simple substitution of only one word. Replace the you with the o by this. Hence, I shall have to go, raise this them moors. And similarly, you won't have to go, near this raise these moors. And will he have to go, have this raise little moors? The replies are of course exactly as you would expect. Yes is this, and no, nabbit. For example, will they have to play football? Have this raised and jai glory peldrews? Yes, this, no, nabbit. Good. Having learned how to use must, let's now look at ought. This follows the same pattern as must. All we have to do is to replace raise you by ukoth. Hence, I ought to go ukothim moors. You ought to go ukoth these moors. He ought to go ukoth thother moors, etc. For the negatives, replace ukoth by nigoth. Thus, I ought not to go nigoth them moors. You ought not to go nigoth these moors, etc. I ought not to, of course, is the same as I should not. And finally the question and answer forms. These are ought you to go, or should you go? Goth these moors. Didn't he ought to come, or shouldn't he ought to come? And he goth all the doors? And the replies, yes, koth, no, nagoth. Finally the past tense, I should have gone, or he should have worked yesterday, etc. Another simple substitution. In place of ukoth, put ukophia. Hence, I should have gone ukophia them moors. You should have gone ukophia these moors, etc. And the negatives, etc. are all carried out in the same manner. I should not have gone ni gophia them moors. And shouldn't he have come? And he gophia dodo doors? This may have seemed a long lesson, but in fact it is again nothing more than simple substitutions. The only new things we have learned are must, raise, and ought, ukoth. Lesson 17. Numbers. As in English, numbers in Cornish come before the noun, but different than in English, the noun is always in the singular. So we would say 5 horse, not 5 horses. The numbers themselves are straightforward. The only point we must learn on this tape is that there are 2 words for 1, 2, 3 and 4. This will be explained as we set up the list, which is as follows. 1. Eden. This is used with a noun, for example, one man, Eden Dame. And Onan. This is used on its own, as in the example, how many children have you? 1. Onan. 2. Dew. Used with a masculine noun, dew with a feminine noun. 3. Tree with a masculine noun, tear with a feminine. 4. Padger with a masculine noun, pedder with a feminine. From now on, there is only one form, as follows. 5. Pimp. 6. Whey. 7. Scythe. 8. Eighth. 9. Now. 10. Deg. 11. Ednick. 12. Dewdek. 13. Tredek. 14. Petwadek. 15. Pimdek. 16. Whaytek. 17. Scythek. 18. Atek. 19. Nounjek. And 20. Egans. These are the basic numbers. Counting generally is in 20s, so 25 would be Pimp 1 Egans, 5 on 20. 33 would be Tredek 1 Egans, 13 on 20. 40 is Dew Egans, 2 20s, or 2 score. 60 is 3 Egans, 3 20s, or 3 score, and so on. From 40 onwards, the 1 used with numbers based on 20 is replaced by ha and. That is, 25 Pimp 1 Egans, but 45 Pimp ha Dew Egans, and 65 Pimp ha 3 Egans, etc. The other major numbers are 100 cans, 1,000 meal, and 1,000,000 mealville. There is also one other alternative form of number we ought to learn, and that is 50. This can either be Dick had 2 egans, 10 and 2 score, or more commonly, 100 cans, a half hundred. So using this form, 53 would be 3 100 cans. Finally, when using numbers from 21 upwards in combination with a noun, such as 23 men or 52 women, we say 3 Dane, 1 egans, 3 men on 20, and 2 vennen, 100 cans, 2 women and 50. We do not say, as in English, 3 1 egans Dane, or 2 100 cans Benin. There we have the cardinal numbers, as they are called, and to finish this lesson we'll have a look at the ordinal numbers, such as first, second, third, etc. First is Kenza, second, Nessa, third, Trudger, fourth, Pejwara, fifth, Pimpus, and sixth, Wehes. From now onwards, all we do is to add Ves to the cardinal number learned earlier in this lesson. Thus, seventh is Seithves, eighth, Eighthves, 20th, Egansves, and 100th, Cansves, etc. So, the first man is Ankenza Dane, the 100th bus is Ancansvis Kitron. And like our cardinal numbers where we split the number 23 men into 3 men on 20 and 52 women into 2 women on 50, we do the same here with our ordinal numbers. Thus, the 23rd man is an Trudger Dane 1 egans, and the 52nd woman is an Nessa Benin 100 cans. And that's all there is to the basic numerals. Apart from learning the numbers themselves, the only points to be firmly borne in mind are 1. Always use a singular noun, as in 3 house or 10 boy, and 2. Split the numbers and nouns over 20, 5 house on 20, or 16 man and 60. Lesson 18. Comparisons. These are situations using words such as fast, faster, fastest, or tall, taller, tallest, etc. In Cornish, these comparisons are formed in 2 basic ways, much the same as in English. The first way is when we use short adjectives, that is, those usually of 1 syllable, such as here, meaning long, or teg, meaning fine, beautiful. So with here, meaning long, how do we say longer and longest? Simple. For longer, we change here to hira, and for longest, we add an to the front of hira, making anhira. Thus, for example, a long road, 4th here, a longer road, 4th hira, and the longest road, 4th anhira. Incidentally, the form anhira, the longest, can precede as well as follow the noun. So for the longest road, we can either have 4th anhira or anhira vor, as in English. And a second example for you, to ensure that you understand the construction. For this example, we will use teg, meaning fine or beautiful. So for a fine day, we would say deith teg. For a finer day, deith teke. And for the finest day, we would say deith anteka or anteka deith. That is the way with short adjectives. Now let us learn the second basic way of forming these comparisons, which is for longer adjectives. And here the English equivalents more and most are used. The Cornish for more is moi, and for most is an moya. So, if we take the adjective brojik, meaning poor, we have a poor man, Dane brojik, a poorer man, Dane moi brojik, the poorest man, Dane and moya brojik. These are the 2 ways to form comparisons in regular adjectives, but like in English, there are irregular comparisons, such as good, better and best. We don't say good, good and goodest. Here are the 5 most common comparisons, which you must learn because they are in frequent use. Good, da, better, gwell, best and gwella. Bad, drok, worse, laka, worst and laka. Small or little, bien, smaller or less, lay, smallest or least and lea. Great or much, mere, greater or more, moi, greatest or most and moya. And finally, near, august, nearer, nes, nearest and nessa. Right, having learnt our comparisons, now we must learn how to use them in sentences. Sentences such as, he is better than his brother, or a house is bigger than a cottage. Our only new word to learn here is the Cornish for than, which is es. So in the example, he is better than his brother, we would say in Cornish, ef you gwell es I brother. And in the other example, a house is bigger than a cottage, we would say, chai you brosa es penty. Often with these comparisons, it is necessary to use a verb, such as, for example, he is bigger than you think. All we do here is to follow the es with del, and then the personal form of the relevant verb, as we learned earlier on this tape. So in the example, he is bigger than you think, we have ef you brosa es del reta perdere. Similarly, the train was going faster than I thought would be there and traino mors moyiscus es del rugavi perdere. That is, there and train or mors moyiscus del rugavi perdere. One final point regarding the use of es. When used in conjunction with persons, as for example, I am bigger than him, it combines with a person, as we learnt with to me, with him, etc. In these combinations, es becomes agus. Here's the list for all the persons concerned. Than me, agesavi. Than you, agasosta, or agesawi in plural. Than him, agesoed. Than her, agesahi. Than us, agesane. Than them, agesanjai. So in our example, I am bigger than him, we would say, me you brosa agesoed. To complete this lesson on comparisons, we will look at the construction in Cornish for sentences such as white as snow, or John is as big as Peter. Here the first as is translated by mar, and the second by abel. So in Cornish, our first example, as white as snow, would be mar wedden abel air. That's mar wedden abel air. Similarly, the Cornish for our second example, John is as big as Peter, would be Johan you mar rose abel petter. That Johan you mar rose abel petter. And when we wish to incorporate a verb, as we did when learning how to use es, we simply replace abel by del and follow with the personal form of the verb in exactly the same way. For example, you are not as good as you thought. This would be in Eiste mar dda del rista berdere. And I am not as young as I was, in Zoma mar jonk del envy. Finally, and no doubt as you have already guessed, abel combines with persons, just like es. Here is the list. As me, avelavi. As you, avelosta, or avelowi. As him, aveloev. As her, avelahi. As us, avelanei. As them, avelanjai. And an example to illustrate the use of these combinations. I am as old as you. Me you margoth avelosta. That's me you margoth avelosta. Lesson 19. Conjunctions. These are words which either link clauses together, such as he came although it was late, or introduce them, as in after I had gone. In this lesson we will only learn the most common and how we put them into sentences. Conveniently for us, there are only two ways in which sentences are formed using conjunctions, and these are as follows. By following the conjunctions directly with the personal form of the verb, as we have done so many times already. And the most common of these are catel, which means as soon as, fatal, meaning how, kin or kinth, although, my, so that, mar, if, and pan, meaning when. Here are some examples to illustrate the use of these words. I will come as soon as I can. Mia vedden doors, I will come, catel, as soon as, ellum, I can. Ellum, the personal form we have already learned. So that's mia vedden doors, catel ellum. Next, how are you? Fatal oster. Fatal oster. Next example, he came although it was late. Everig doors, kinth o holert. Everig doors, kinth o holert. He opened the door so that she could enter. Everriga Gary and Darius, he opened the door. My, so that, how did he enter? She could enter. Efaric Agarian Daras, my Haljahi enter. And now, he will come if he wants. Evervidden doors, Mar Mednev. He will come if he wants. And finally, I saw him when I went to Cameron. Mia Rig I Wellis, Pan Rigby Moors the Gambrin. Mia Rig I Wellis, Pan Rigby Moors the Gambrin. The second group of conjunctions form sentences in a manner we have not as yet come across, but nevertheless still very simple to learn. All we do in this instance is to follow the conjunction with the subject, whether it be a person or an ordinary noun, then the word the, and then the infinitive of the verb. That's the form you would find in the dictionary. Although this may seem somewhat strange, a few examples will show that it is indeed very easy. It is very easy, mainly because you only use the infinitive of the verb, regardless of what tense the verb would be in English. First, here are the common conjunctions, which we will follow with some examples, so that you can be perfectly sure of the construction. The words are dreffen, meaning because, kens, meaning before, and wodja, meaning after. And now for the examples. Because he came early. Dreffen ef the doors of bar. That's dreffen because, ef, the subject, followed by the, and then the infinitive of the verb to come, those, and finally avar early. Dreffen ef the doors of bar. Similarly, before she died. This would be kens he the very well. Kens he the very well. Before she died. Very well to die. And lastly, after the boy had gone. This is wodja and mep the vors. After the boy had gone. As we learned earlier, the construction is always the same in this form, regardless of the tense of the verb in English. Thus, in our last example, wodja and map the vors is translatable into English either as after the boy had gone, or after the boy went, and even after the boy did go. It doesn't matter. It is always the same in Cornish. Wodja and map the vors. Lesson 20. This final lesson is just a collection of different items to enable you to fill in those gaps in the language which do not require a complete lesson on their own. First we will look at how this man or that man, etc. is said in Cornish. For this man we say an dain ma, and for that man we say an dain na. So it's ma tacked on to the noun for this, and na tacked on for that. Similarly, this book, and liver ma, and that book, and liver na. And it doesn't matter if the noun is plural, it is still ma or na that is tacked on. These men, and these ma. Those men, and these na. If we simply want to say this one, or that one, as for example in can I have this one, or can I have that one, we use hemmer for this one, and hedna for that one. So for can I have this one, we would say Elamakawas hemmer, and for can I have that one, we would say Elamakawas hedna. For the plural, these and those, we use anrema and anrena. So for I like these best, we would say Mira Kara and Rema and Gwella. And for do you want to take those, Vinda Cameras and Reina. Next we will learn how to say let's, as in let's go or let's do that. This is simply grenny plus whatever it is we want to do. So let's go would be grenny moors, and let's do that grenny gilhedna. And the negative is equally as simple. In place of grenny, say na renny. So let us not go would be na renny moors, and let us not start yet, that would be na renny daleth weth. So it's grenny for let's and na renny for let's not. Another simple yet very important thing to learn is the imperative or command statement, such as, for example, wait or don't go. As usual, we will treat this in the simplest way, as we have done with all our lessons on this tape. So for the affirmative we say gra, followed by the command verb, as for example, wait, gra gortas. Eat your breakfast, gra dibri, the hansel. And for the negative we use nara, which make the preceding examples as follow. Don't wait, nara quarters, and don't eat your breakfast, nara dibri the hansel. Gra and nara are used when speaking to one person, but if we are speaking to more than one, we use gru and naru. Our examples wait and don't wait, etc. would be gru quarters and naru quarters. Although this is the basic way of forming commands, there are of course stock phrases which are simpler to use. Here are the most common which you can learn. Shut up, sin the glap, go away, k the vez, come on, din in rack, sorry, that's forgive me, gav them, and be careful, beethwar. When we wish to say in Cornish too much or too many, etc., we use the word ray and follow it directly with the word it is describing. For example, too big is revolves and too small is revian. The word ray can also be used on its own, as in thorough ray or on train. There were too many on the train, or chire rig eva ray, you have drunk too much. Finally, we will learn how to use adverbs. These are words which describe how you do something, such as you walk quickly or he sings nicely. Basically, the English adverb is formed by adding li on the end of the adjective, quickly, nicely, or slowly. In Cornish, we put in before the adjective, as lent, slow, in lent, slowly, iscus, quick, in iscus, quickly, scaff, light, in scaff, lightly. So when you wish to say you walk slowly, it would be Shira Keras in lent. Similarly, she sings sweetly, Hira Kena in wake. Well, that's the end of the tape. By now you should, with your regular practice sessions, be ready to join in most conversations. Chance dar. Good luck.